people of Europe, in creating an ever closer union among them, are resolved to share a peaceful future based on common values. Conscious of its spiritual and moral heritage, the Union is founded on the invisible universal values of human dignity, freedom, equality, and solidarity. It is based on the principles of democracy and the rule of law.
The Union contributes to the preservation and to the development of these common values while respecting the diversity of the cultures and traditions of the peoples of Europe, as well as the national identities of the member states and the organization of their public authorities at national, regional, and local levels. It seeks to promote balanced and sustainable development and ensures free movement of persons, services, goods and capital, and the freedom of establishment.
And it is necessary to strengthen the protection of fundamental rights in the light of changes in society, social progress, and scientific and technological developments by making those rights more visible in a charter.
This charter reaffirms, with due regard for the powers and the tasks of the Union, and for the principle of subsidiarity, the rights as they result, in particular, from the constitutional traditions and international obligations common to the member states, the European Convention for the Protection of Human Rights and Fundamental Freedoms, the social charters adopted by the Union and by the Council of Europe, and the case law of the Court of Justice of the European Union and the European Court of Human Rights. In this context, the Charter will be interpreted by the courts of the Union and the Member States with due regard to the explanations prepared under the authority of the Presidium of the Convention, which drafted the Charter and updated under the responsibility of the Presidium and the European Convention.
Enjoyment of these rights entails responsibilities and duties with regard to other persons, to the human community, and to future generations. The Union therefore recognizes the rights, freedoms, and principles set out hereafter.
Article 43. European Ombudsman. Any citizen of the Union and any natural or legal person residing or having its registered office in a member state has the right to refer to the European Ombudsman cases of maladministration in the activities of the institutions, bodies, offices, or agencies of the Union, with the exception of the Court of Justice of the European Union acting in its judicial role.
Article 44. Right to petition. Any citizen of the Union and any natural or legal person residing or having its registered office in the Member States has a right to petition the European Parliament.
Article 45. Freedom of movement and of residence. Every citizen of the Union has a right to move and reside freely within the territory of a Member State. Freedom of the movement and residence may be granted in accordance with the treaties to nationals of third countries legally resident in the territory of a member state.
Article 46. Diplomatic and consular protection. Every citizen of the Union shall, in the territory of a third country in which the member state of which he or she is a national is not represented, be entitled to protection by the diplomatic or consular authorities of any member state on the same conditions as the nationals of that member
Article
state.
47. Right to an effective remedy and to a fair trial. Everyone whose rights and freedoms guaranteed by the law of the Union are violated has the right to an effective remedy before a tribunal compliance with the conditions laid down in this article. Everyone is entitled to a fair and public hearing from within a reasonable time by an independent and impartial tribunal previously established by law. Everyone shall have the possibility of being advised, defended, and represented. Legal aid shall be made available to those who lack sufficient resources insofar as such aid is necessary to ensure effective access to justice.
Article 48. Presumption of innocence and right of defense. Everyone who has been charged shall be presumed innocent until proved guilty according to law. Respect for the rights of the defense of anyone who has been charged shall be guaranteed.
Article 49. Principles of legality and proportionality of criminal offenses and penalties. 1. No one shall be held guilty of any criminal offense on account of any act or omission which did not constitute a criminal offense under national law or international law at the time that it was committed. 2. This article shall not prejudice the trial and punishment of any person for any act or omission which at the time that it was committed was criminal according to the general principles recognized by the community of nations. 3. The severity of penalties must not be disproportionate to the criminal offense.
Article 50. Right not to be tried or punished twice in criminal proceedings for the same criminal offense. No one shall be liable to be tried or punished again in criminal proceedings for an offense for which he or she has already been finally acquitted or convicted within the Union in accordance with the law.
Article 51. The provisions of this Charter are addressed to institutions, bodies, offices, and agencies of the Union with due regard for the principle of subsidiarity and to the Member States only when they are implementing Union law. They shall therefore respect the rights, observe the principles, and promote the applications thereof in accordance with their respective powers and respecting the limits of the powers of the Union as conferred on it in the treaties. The Charter does not extend the field of application of Union law beyond the powers of the Union or establish any new power or task for the Union or modify powers and tasks defined in the treaties.
Article 52. Scope and interpretation of rights and principles. 1. Any limitation on the exercise of the rights and freedoms recognized by this Charter must be provided for by law and respect the essence of those rights and freedoms. 2. Rights recognized by this Charter for which provision is made in the treaties shall be exercised under the conditions and within the limits defined by those treaties. 3. Insofar as this Charter contains rights which correspond to the rights guaranteed by the Convention for the Protection of Human Rights and Fundamental Freedoms, the meaning and scope of those rights shall be the same as those laid down by the said Convention. 4. Insofar as this Charter recognizes fundamental rights as they result from their constitutional traditions common to the Member States, those rights shall be interpreted in harmony with those traditions. 5. The provisions of this Charter which contain principles may be implemented by legislative and executive acts taken by institutions, bodies, offices, and agencies of the Union, and by acts of Member States when they are implementing Union laws in the exercise of their respective powers. They shall be judicially cognizable only in the interpretation of such acts and in the ruling on their own legality. 6. Full account shall be taken of national laws and practices as specified in this Charter. 7. The explanation drawn up as a way of providing guidance in the interpretation of this Charter shall be given due regard by the courts of the Union and of the Member States.
Article 53. Level of protection. Nothing in this Charter shall be interpreted as restricting or adversely affecting human rights and fundamental freedoms as recognized in the respective fields of application by Union law and international law and by international agreements to which the Union or all the Member States are party, including the European Convention for the Protection of Human Rights and Fundamental Freedoms and by the Member States' constitutions.
Article 54. Prohibition of abuse of rights. Nothing in this Charter shall be interrupted as implying any right to engage in any activity or to perform any act aimed at the distraction of any of the rights and freedoms recognized in this Charter or at their limitation to a greater extent than is provided for here.